Feels like forever since we recorded, but it actually isn't that long.
No, right?
That's all the holidays and stuff in between. And
Yeah,
then trips
busy.
and so. You ready?
Let's do this.
To the bridge of Cosmic Doom.
Stand by, going to air.
Stand by, Phil.
5,
Stand by music.
4,
Stand by announce.
3, 2, 1.
And fade up.
Sneaky little hobbitses.
Spider-Man, hero or menace?
Deer Indigo.
Dobby the house elf.
Who holds sway over the 5 points? I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
This is my family.
There's a hole in this catch.
You concur?
I'm a bloody Allen. I'm bloody Ibiza.
How about new, you crazy Dutch bastard?
All right. Well, welcome, everyone, to another episode of 20 Years, 4 Beers. We are a podcast dedicated to re-watching movies from 2 decades ago while simultaneously enjoying a minimum of 4 modern beers. My name is Steve, and this is my big brother,
Tim.
And we are coming to you live on tape from Minneapolis, Minnesota. In this episode, we will be covering the continuing saga, or sage, as my notes say, from Middle-earth, and we'll rewatch 2002's epic, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. For those unaware, The Two Towers is the next chapter in that Middle-earth saga after last year's Fellowship of the Ring, and that we began last year. In this film, we find our fellowship broken and different parties heading in different directions. Sam and Frodo are making their way to Mordor. Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas are tracking Merry and Pippin, who had been captured at the end of the last film. Also, we have some new characters that I'm not going to go into at the moment, but I'm sure we'll talk about at that point. But while this is where the story begins, it goes in many different directions with all kinds of new characters, all leading up to a final battle and yet another step in the journey to destroy the One Ring. The film is directed by Peter Jackson, written by Jackson, Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens, and Steven Sinclair, and stars Elijah Wood, Ian McKellen, it's gonna be a long list. Viggo Mortensen, Sean Astin, Orlando Bloom, Billy Boyd, John Rhys Davies, Dominic Monaghan, Kate Blanchett, Liv Tyler, Andy Serkis, Carl Urban, etc., etc.,
And a partridge and a pear tree.
I know what it is you want of me, but I will not bring further death to my people. I will not risk open war.
Open war is upon you, whether you would risk it or not.
When last I looked, Theoden, not Aragorn, was king of Rohan.
Then what is the king's decision?
By order of the king, the city must empty. We make for the refuge of Helm's Deep.
So there you go. Our first segment then, as always, is Drinking Buddies.
Come on, not my beer.
Where we present the beers we will be drinking while rewatching our subject film. As our name would suggest, we traditionally cover 4 beers, but in cases such as this, where we have a almost 4-hour long film ahead of us, that will probably balloon to more, but Tim will be walking us through our starter buddies for tonight, and we'll go from there. So take it away, Tim.
Yeah. These are the 4 we'll list at the beginning.
Yeah.
Knowing we'll
starter buddies.
Have some more.
Yeah.
Modest Brewing out of Minneapolis. Their Shook Milkshake IPA, which when these came out a while ago, they were all the rage.
They were the jam.
So I haven't seen them in a while, though. But this came out recently. Their Key Lime Pie, which includes milk sugar, vanilla bean, graham crackers, cinnamon, and of course, as you might imagine, key lime.
Sure, get it.
And then we have out of Wisconsin. Where is that? No, maybe it's not. Sorry. Nope. Let me start over.
Yeah.
I always thought it was Montevideo, Minnesota. Samsonite. I was way off. Talking Waters Brewing. They're Lost in Translation Double Dry Hopped Hazy IPA, which includes Citra, Mosaic, and Eldorado hops. And then out of Big Lake, Minnesota, the Lupin Brewing Company has their Resin Rapture Imperial Red IPA, which I believe came out like 5 years ago.
It's been a while.
Haven't seen it, and so I'm very excited to have this again.
They've had it at their tap room, and I don't know if they've released it very much.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah.
I can see that. And then the theme beer, which you're going to love this.
Oh, is this the one?
Oh, yeah, the one we've communicated about.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll get there.
Oh, we'll get there. Warrior Brewing Company out of Duluth, Minnesota. Their Barbarian Imperial Stout, bourbon barrel aged Imperial Stout with Highlander Grog coffee. And
no,
Steve, we've talked about this. A barbarian, technical term, is in ancient times a member of a community or tribe not belonging to one of the great civilizations.
Sure.
What would you say is a loose interpretation of that, of Uruk-hai, orcs? They're not part
By the
of
way,
a great
Uruk-hai could have been
civilization?
his Highland hops. Hi, Uruk-hai, you're fine. You didn't. There you go.
Sure.
Done.
No, the
Yeah.
Highlander
There you go.
coffee? Yeah, exactly. I don't
There's
know
your
about
theme.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. I'm the one stretching.
Yeah. That's our theme beer.
Raiders. There you go.
I got you there.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm sure we'll have more than that as we come back in our segment later. So our next segment is the social network,
If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
where we take a look back at the critical and fan reception from 20 years ago. Pretty high reception, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
Tim will take point in this. So what do we got, Tim?
Pretty sure this is the highest rating we've seen, although it might have been maybe Fellowship. But the IMDb rating is 8.8 out of 10.
Yeah.
So that's
if not, it's
certainly the highest that we see. Keith Phipps of AV Club said, to live up to expectations, The Two Towers only had to be as good as its predecessor, The Fellowship of the Rings, and astoundingly, it's better. Ty Burr of Boston Globe said, considering this is the second experience this year of watching the middle installments in their respective trilogies, one can only hope George Lucas watches The Two Towers and hangs his head in shame. I laughed at that. I love throwing shade at the other crappy movie from this year of
Yeah, except he was just rolling in his dough, so he wasn't listening.
Yeah, he was like, I'm just fine. And then Roger Ebert, Big Man Raj, 3 out of 4 stars.
Shove that Pulitzer Prize square up your ass.
And if we think back to the first movie, I remember he talked a lot about how he didn't like it from his own expectations, but he addresses that in his review here. So he said, I complained in my review of the first film that the hobbits had been shortchanged and the film did not live up to my expectations of what it could look like from the book. But with this second film, I must accept that as a given and go on from there. Oh, thank you, Roger. So kind of you.
Well, what a big man.
But then did say, while The Two Towers is not faithful to the spirit of Tolkien and misplaces much of the charm and whimsy of the books, it stands on its own as a visionary thriller. It is a rousing adventure, contains sequences of breathtaking beauty, and through skillful marriage of special effects and computer animation, gives us one of the most engaging and convincing CGI characters in Gollum ever put on film. So, all right, singing some praises there. And then Academy Awards that year, 6 nominations total, which is still kind of lame because this middle one was like, you think about how many it was nominated. Anyway, so we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
2 of which won. So the 4 nominations were sound, film editing, art, set direction, and picture. And the 2 wins were in visual effects, not surprisingly, and sound editing. There you go.
All right. Well, cool. So now we get to the part of our show where we take a break and re-watch our subject film. So as usual, we have a spoiler warning. But at this point, if you haven't seen this film, you aren't even listening, because in my view, if you're listening to podcasts, you have seen this movie at that point. Not even our podcast, just in general. If you have the technological ability to listen to a podcast now, I feel like you've seen this movie. But in the case you haven't, what's up, wiener holes? Don't tell me. I don't want to know. People have to
reassess our friendship.
Yeah, we are going to pause the recording, and we would encourage you to watch as well. And please enjoy 2002's The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Ride out with me. Ride out and meet them.
For death and glory.
For Rohan. For your people.
The sun is rising.
Look to my coming at first light on the 5th day. At dawn, look to the east.
Yes. Yes.
The horn of Helm Hammerhand shall sound in the deep. One last time. Yes!
Let this be the hour when we draw swords together.
All right.
Stretch.
Shake out the yeah. Ugh. A long ass movie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome back to 20 Years, 4 Beers, where we have just finished rewatching The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Extended edition. Very extended edition.
3 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah. And also have enjoyed 4 or 5 or 6, I don't know where we're at now, beers that we will review in a segment coming up. But as usual, we jump right into our reaction segment that we call Spotlight.
They knew, and they let it happen.
Where we highlight and discuss our top takeaways of any kind from rewatching the film. I took the least amount of notes I've ever taken in this.
I was thinking the same thing.
So, Tim, go ahead and take it away. What do you got?
All right. So, yes, similar.
I've also rewatched this more recently, probably than you have. So, yeah, but go ahead.
It's been probably 10 years since I've watched this. So,
it's been a year.
What I always appreciate about the second film in this sequence is the world expansion.
Oh, yeah.
That it provides. So the first film is huge in terms of the scale, obviously, and what it's laying the foundation for the films to come, but it's rather insular in as much as it's building the overall Middle Earth experience, but centered just on the hobbits leaving the Shire. And so that's their conduit to this larger world. And what I really appreciate about this film and seeing it again is the lens that it, focuses on. The first movie is Hobbiton is protected from the ills of the wilder world.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so protected. And this lays that bare.
Yeah.
So you have the political turmoil in Rohan, one of the worlds of men, the family dynamics of Boromir and Gondor, that world, and like the war machine building of Sauron. So it just does a great job of, I think, of any sequel in many ways, or the middle movie of a trilogy.
Yeah. Yes.
Where it's expanding the world you're used to. And it takes the time, because at the end of the first movie, all our characters that we've come to know in the 8 after Boromir dies, they separate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so this is about like, where do we follow the 3 different journeys of these characters? And I just always love that they took the time and the patience to tell all the different facets of that world through the like larger dynamics of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a incredible movie.
Yeah.
Just so good.
Yeah. Because like Fellowship follows one storyline.
Yes.
Right? Like it does. It's just one central storyline.
Yep.
And everyone comes to Frodo and Sam and that sort of storyline. There's no balancing act of the editing or editing 3 separate storylines, if not 4.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of mid movies get, I mean, Star Wars obviously is the sort of bellwether when it comes to trilogies initially.
Yeah.
And Empire was the same way.
Empire,
just so like it's
split up.
You suddenly are split up and there's multiple things versus it was always, Luke was the catalyst in the first one. Like that was the, he followed that. Boy, it is so impressive to watch them balance this out. And now, again, we watched the extended edition, so it's also there's more opportunity for them to do that well.
Sure.
But even then, in the theatrical version of it, still did it really well.
Oh, totally.
Like, the balancing of that is really impressive. The editing is outstanding in this. Just the back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
How do you jump from story to story and keep it interesting?
Yes.
And compelling?
Although there are some things when you watch something that has an hour extra of what was initially in the theaters, you're like, yeah, I'm fine that they didn't put this in there.
Yeah,
I would have fallen asleep. I already almost did tonight, but I was like, I would have fallen asleep at whatever singing happens. Like, all right, but yeah, let's move this on. Especially back in the day, movie theaters 20 years ago are not as comfortable as they were now.
No.
Although, arguably, then that means I would fall asleep more.
Yeah, more so. But we were talking, as we were watching it, like thinking through the somewhat irony of, I'm pretty sure I've only seen the original cut in the theater when it came out.
Sure.
And I will never likely watch it again. Because...
Except for maybe out of curiosity one day.
Maybe, but you watch this and you can see the difference in what they've added to it. And, we've come to appreciate...
I will say, not to cut you off, but only like...
Go ahead.
I actually feel like this is the version they obviously wanted.
Yes.
So we experienced subtraction from the beginning.
Yes.
I don't feel like this is added, like, oh, we have this other stuff, and so we'll just do a director's cut or whatever.
Yes.
Like Ridley Scott and Blade Runner 10 times.
Yes.
This is literally like, this is what we wanted to produce, but we obviously didn't have the time, so we're subtracting. So it's this weird, like, difference of saying what we experienced the first time around was actually a subtraction versus now we're seeing not an addition, just what it was subtracted
what
from.
they wanted to be.
Sorry.
When I think about the world we live in 20 years after seeing this, and I haven't seen the new Lord of the Rings TV show on Amazon.
Yep.
But you think about, this is a perfect example of, in a film version of a long form narrative.
Yeah.
Where you could see what they add in and wanted to tell, and then studio and the nature of just how movies were at the time 20 years ago, you couldn't include some of these things.
No.
And I'm really impressed with what they cut out to still maintain a really great film when it came out, as we saw with the critics, but just the overall experience. But seeing it now with the expanded edition, it's just so much better in the tiny details.
Yeah.
Like, one of which is as I talk about, like, the world building and expanding, the Theoden, who's the king of Rohan.
Yeah.
And the scenes that they have that add to him, but his son's burial.
Sure.
In the movie was truncated, just like him lowering a flower.
Yeah.
And this, with what we were talking about, I was watching, like, they filmed stuff knowing it was going to be cut.
Yeah, they just knew it. Yep.
But it's so much better that the point where he does break down at the scene, at the grave, is really moving to me. And seeing him realizing he was poisoned in many ways by Saruman's, envoy, Wormtongue. Great name, by the way. Like, what a great villain name.
First of all,
evil name. Like, Wormtongue. Like, yeah.
Okay, we'll come back to Wormtongue, but continue.
But just like the fact that it lays out so much of him wakening up to this world that he's been somewhat blind to. Great scene. Love that scene. So yeah, I think it's a weird movie experience relative to other ones we've seen throughout this time and others where we saw it and then it was known to be an extended edition, and it's just so much better. I love it.
If you were to hire somebody and their last name was Wormtongue, would you be like, this is my right-hand man over here, man? Like, this guy here can be trustworthy.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know worms that well, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what always cracks me up about fantasy novels in general. Like, it's not even close.
It's a bit on the nose.
Right. You just know who the bad guys are going to be by their names.
Yeah.
Like, you just, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wormtongue.
It's a great name.
On, man. It is a great name, but it's a good villain name.
True.
Not like a
obvious villain.
Right. You're like, oh, I shouldn't have put my trust in Wormtongue.
Yes. Oh, I thought he'd be.
Oh man, I thought he would be just slow.
Above reproach.
Nope. Oh, here we go.
Lion's Bane.
Yeah, he's literally in the dirt all day long. That's fine. No, it is the extended edition. of all of them, no, I have not read all the books. Right?
Sorry.
You know what I mean? Like I got, yeah, I've just not read. Just period. End of
Not a
story.
learned
Books
man.
suck. Yeah. I listened to the audiobook.
That's
No, I haven't read them, and so, and that's why I appreciate about the extended edition is letting an updated. No, it's not. It is not like they didn't just film extra for extra's sake.
Yeah, like fan servicey
right,
stuff.
They do a good job with that, and that's why I like watching the extended editions, and I have every time since. Like to your point.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that it couldn't be maybe a half hour shorter.
Sure.
On the extended edition.
Yeah.
It should be like the theatrical cut, extended edition, and like the nerd version.
Yes.
Right? Like, give me the nerd version that's 5 hours long.
Yes.
Great. Anyway.
Like even the opening sequence in which it's, well, not opening, but when it comes to Sam and Frodo in the, like, trying to climb down a wall and the elvish rope.
The rope.
Like, it's fun.
It's a cute scene.
It's fun.
Yeah.
But you think about that over and over again, it is a bit fan servicey in that element,
right?
But it doesn't necessarily
that
add
literally
that much
did
to
nothing
No.
to the from a movie standpoint.
No.
And that's not Tolkien's fault by any means. It was never
meant to be
a movie
yes,
or anything like that. So I mean I totally get it, but I'm also like, yeah. God. Anyway,
yes, we like
what do you
took
got?
like 15 pee breaks.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh my god, we have 2 hours left.
Every pee break was like, how much time we got left? And not in a boredom
No.
point, but it is like
just fascinating.
All the things that we have to come. Like
Yes.
they haven't even had Aragorn maybe die, not die, and there's like 2 hours to go. And
To
like,
go.
Oh, geez, here we go.
So I, into the weeds a bit, I love about this second film the bond that grows between Legolas and Gimli.
Yeah.
So the elf and dwarf in the first movie coming together where it is kind of antagonistic and, played for haha, chucks and giggles. But as they come together in this and become not just like compatriots in this effort, but when Gimli is threatened by Éomer and Legolas right away, like, I would kill you where you stand.
Yeah.
And just those small bits where then it's fun where they're like competing on how many Uruk-hai they kill at the end. I just like that. And then to the point where in this one where Gimli is and Aragorn are going to jump over in Helm's Deep, the final battle. Gimli's like,
oh, come on, we can take him. It's a long way.
Toss me.
What?
I cannot jump the distance. You'll have to toss me. Don't tell the elf.
Not a word.
toss me.
Toss me.
Yeah. But don't tell the
Don't tell the elf.
Like, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's
little
a good
details.
callback from the first movie.
Right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So it's that, I think, is what adds to this whole experience of these characters coming together in this overall effort. So I love it.
Yeah, I agree. That sort of like brotherhood you start to see, and it really comes to fruition in the third movie, and they go out of their way to make that. But it is really cool to see. Man, Gollum still is 20 years later.
God.
Gollum is still
Unreal.
I mean, it's not necessarily a league of their own, but you do kind of go like. So Circus was officially disqualified for a supporting actor Oscar because it was an animated character.
It's such bullshit.
Which is, I mean, it is bullshit.
Yes.
Because it's just astonishing to me.
Yes.
Like, Gollum is still incredible. It not only is Gollum stand up 20 years later, it's still just an incredible feat 20 years later.
Yes.
There are a few times, like when the Oliphants come out and stuff like that, like the color is off and the lighting is different.
Yes.
But I mean, take in a 4-hour freaking movie, like take a couple of those scenes out.
Yes.
Fine. But it's so good. Circus. Yeah. And I did not know this, but he was actually initially hired for only 3 weeks of voiceover work. Did you know this?
Because in the first one, he's really only like kind of there.
Well, everyone was hired for the whole movie, right? But it was literally supposed to be just voiceover. He was going to record his voice and move on.
Yeah.
And then Jackson, in order to get that voice, obviously, like he had this mannerisms and things like that. And Jackson loved him so much that he hired him on to do the motion capture. He was not hired on for the motion capture piece of this. It was just going to be a dancer or something.
Sure.
Who knows? But boy, man, like the rest is history, right?
Oh,
like,
gosh.
What would have happened otherwise? You know?
Yes.
He is... Every time I watch this, and the next one too, you're just like, holy cow. Everything about Gollum, the scene where it becomes Smeagol and Gollum,
yes,
like the back and forth,
yes, fighting.
My understanding of that scene is like it was a throw-in scene sort of at the end, and so like Fran Walsh directed that scene.
Okay,
because that's Peter Jackson's wife, right?
Yep.
Or is it Philippa? Yeah. So she ended up directing that scene or something like that, where it was just like this throw-in at the last minute, and it just worked so well. Like that's not Peter Jackson directing that. Like I don't know. Everything about Gollum in this is just perfection personified. Like it's great.
Well, we talked about a little bit in the first episode, if you will, of this movie. But in terms of like game-changing movie-going experiences, and the level of what was hinted at with Gollum in the first one, you only see him briefly.
Yeah, and it's
when
really
it reminds of Moria.
It's an awkward,
facial.
Yeah,
you knew the technology wasn't quite there yet, but to think about him coming into this and having it be, I would say, one of the most game-changing experiences in terms of technology with performance, where everything has changed since then.
Mm-hmm.
Where you think about motion capture and what they're able to accomplish in scene, in camera, with the actors, and a real person doing this, and then you watch it, and yes, the graphics still hold up, and it largely is only workable because of Andy Serkis's performance.
Yeah.
When he is, you're right, watching the scene where he is having that internal battle with himself, but even the voice that he's choosing to do, and the mannerisms and movements, and how he portrays the struggle at all times.
Master? Yes, precious. False. They will cheat you, hurt you, lie. Master's my friend. You don't have any friends. Nobody likes you. Not listening. Not listening. You're a liar. And a thief. No. Murderer. Go away. Go away. I hate you.
Or when Faramir and his men capture him and throw him in the corner, and he's kind of then realizing in that time that, like, Master, if you will, wasn't what I thought he would be to protect me. It is an incredible performance. And my thought is it's a disservice to the work that he does that he has been nominated for something at this point.
Not only these two movies, like this movie and then Return, but then the Planet of the Apes movies, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a disservice to what he's able to provide to, you think about digital,
or even King Kong.
Digital effects are in many ways just a 21st century version of makeup to me.
Yeah.
Where you take a person's normal look and you change it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a pretty antiquated perspective on movie going.
Yeah,
or
like we're
filmmaking.
about to. We have Avatar coming out here, Avatar: Way of Water, or whatever. And if there's somebody in this that has a great performance, you're like, well, what's the?
Yeah.
Just because you digitized it, it suddenly takes away from it.
Yeah.
Like I mean, no, that is definitely where Hollywood has to.
They got to change it.
Yeah, come around. Not even with new categories. Just understand that this is a thing.
Yes.
And this is now 20 years ago that, I mean, this is the beginning, right, of the animated performance sort of conversation.
This changed everything.
of like, why aren't we nominating people for this? A few years later, it was Finding Nemo because like Ellen DeGeneres with Dory was outstanding in that.
That's true.
Like at some point, there was a conversation of just like, why aren't we nominating voice talent?
Yes,
as if that's
it's
any
an
different
acting role.
Yeah, it's an acting.
Yes,
so different.
But you watch this and go, Gollum. I still remember being in the theater just floored by what Andy said. No, it was nothing like this ever.
T2 was the only time in 10 years prior to this that would have been about the only time that you would have been like, oh, a digital character.
Yep.
But none of the T3000 or whatever 1000 excuse me, Robert Patrick. His dialogue wasn't delivered digitally. Everything he spoke was him normally.
Yes.
All the cool stuff was out there, but there was no digital performance.
No.
And it just changed the game.
I totally agree. Like, and you watch it and it still holds up.
Yeah.
Which is so great to see.
Yeah.
That 20 years later, what Andy Serkis was able to accomplish. It's rare to watch a movie remembering when you saw it, but still, like, again, now thinking this changed the game.
Yeah.
This guy just loved what he did. So incredible. Speaking of performances, somewhat in a different lens.
Okay.
I remember watching it and being super irked by it, and I still have such frustration with it. I don't know why, in the vast options that you have of character actors and voice actors.
Yeah, this is my next one too. Yeah.
That you have Treebeard, who is a new character in this one, be voiced by Gimli the Dwarf, who's already been in your world.
Yep.
And no disrespect to Jonathan Rhys Davies.
No.
He's a great actor. I cannot stand that they chose to do this. It's distracting, and I think it's really a detriment to what could have been a cool character.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching the thing and be like, this is Gimli. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
And it's not different enough. And so it just feels like a cop out to me. And I still get so frustrated by watching it. I cannot stand Treebeard.
I agree. I love, I respect the fact that they didn't digitally alter his voice.
Yes.
Apparently it was like
some like wood box
it was
thing
a
they spoke into.
Megaphone basically that he, and he went to his lowest register. But it doesn't matter.
Mm-mm.
It's still Gimli. We can tell.
Yes.
Like it's not. We're not idiots.
No.
It's fine. You got a billion people on this planet, and you can't find. And actually, even then, didn't find digitally alter it.
Yes.
It could have been Aragon for all I care.
Exactly.
It literally could have been anyone else. I don't understand what, and I don't know if that was them, like. Maybe this is going to make the theatrical cut, so it doesn't matter. So maybe it would have been, but you have to have Treebeard because otherwise Merry and Pip are just done for this movie. Yeah. I agree.
True.
I just was like, it is, I get it on one level when it comes to like, we got to find somebody who can do this and emote. Because just because you're an actor does not mean you can get the emotion through your voice.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So that doesn't mean people could have done it better.
Yep.
But yeah, it's always distracting.
I can't
it is.
stand
I've seen it dozens of times and you're like, nope, that's Gimli.
Yes, it's Gimli.
Voice Gimli.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. It's really the only quibble / frustration you can come into this with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's so distracting.
And I remember watching with people that didn't know, and they're like, really? I'm like, how did you not know?
Yeah.
Like, it's clear as day.
Have you not watched Sliders? Come on.
What he sounds like. And so it is definitely one of the biggest drawbacks to this. And I think it's an incredible movie overall.
It doesn't kill your experience, but it just is like, man, this could have been one half step better.
Yes.
Like, why did you do this?
Yes.
Makes no sense to me.
All these characters that are like, and actors that bring it together are unparalleled how great they are. That was like lazy.
Yeah, I agree.
Go.
Yeah, I find myself sort of like, I did write down like, what more can be said about this movie or the next one or the previous one that hasn't already been said before? You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I did love, just as a point of in my research and stuff, the guy at Helm's Deep with the eye. Like, there's a brief scene where he looks back and like he doesn't have an eye.
Yeah,
it's
it's like a real eye socket, right?
Yeah. I did not know that.
Dude's got like the real dude.
Yes. Did you know this?
No.
Yes. That's not like a digital thing. It's literally, so this guy, this extra shows up in New Zealand and he has an eye patch on. And which is fine. They're doing their own thing. And
Sure.
at some point, Jackson approaches him and just asks him, like, what's underneath the eye patch?
What's behind the patch, good sir?
I'm actually not even, like, I was astonished by this. And the guy was very self-conscious about it. He was like, and he tells, so he eventually shows Jackson.
Hey, you want to be the voice of Treebeard?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. That would have been better. But like, he shows Jackson, and Jackson then asks him, "Would you be willing to do that little clip without the eye patch and the non-digitally altered eye?" Just essentially saying like, this is what we have. Like, Rohan is so desperate for people that we're literally going to one-eyed people with, you know what I mean?
Huh.
It's not digital at all. That's literally the guy. And so then he does it. He voluntarily does this.
That's cool.
And then he said after the fact that it really helped him. He was very self-conscious about it, right? And so it really helped him, like being able to put that on film for the world to see. And suddenly his confidence boosted. And it's all because Peter Jackson randomly, like some ADHD like kid who's like, "What's behind your eye patch? Can I see it? Can I see it? Can you pull it up? That's fine. Can we use this?" Like,
your socket?
Yes. I was like, I was floored by that in my sort of like somewhat research of the eye patch guy. I don't have a ton of like responses to this. It is... Every time I watch a movie like this, it is such a great experience, and you re-experience it every time. Like, I don't need to write it down. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you have seen it, watch it again.
Yes.
Theatrical or not, it doesn't matter. Like, there are so, like, I'm 40, you're 43, around there.
Specifically. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
There are so few movie going experiences in a lifetime that you can kind of circle back to and be like, oh, and you can feel it every time. We had it last year with Fellowship. We had this year with that. We'll have it with this movie. We'll have it next year with Return of the King. We've had others in our time here. Yeah. But there are so few of these movies that have that experience that you can just watch it again and re-experience it for the same way.
Yeah.
And this is it for me. I don't have much to add because you're just like, I didn't want to take many notes because I'm like, what am I going to type that is so amazing that nobody else before me has typed or written out, short of Roger Ebert finally admitting that he's a freaking idiot.
It was pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
No, I agree.
Exactly what I thought it would be.
When we were watching it, again, 3 hours and 40 minutes to watch it. It definitely was one where I recognize both of us were taking very few notes.
Yeah.
Because it is I hate to be all like highfalutin, but when you think about like film, cinema, these kind of things, it's just like you just sit there and you go, I just want to experience, and it's an overwhelming experience.
Yeah.
In a great way.
Yeah. In the best way.
This is why I go, when you and I go see movies, to see spectacle and engagement and emotion and
Avatar
and wonder. Yes. Exactly. We're like, wow, what's that? To like the point where, you forget the Helm's Deep sequence, the buildup and the patience that it takes to build this world where now these people are in peril and it feels like this is dire. And it's a third movie, so it's like, okay, fine. They might be laid to waste, but we're still going to have the ring to move us forward. Mm-hmm. But what they do, and this is so great, is that when things start to go wrong, and it feels like this has never been breached, We're totally going to be fine. You know, Theoden's like, yeah, no worries.
Is this all you got?
Yeah, really hubris, man. And they blow up the wall, and the elves come in, and you just go, this is what movie going and making spectacle is all about.
Right.
Where you think about the time and the patience put together, that you feel invest in these characters, that you don't want to see anything happen. It's fun. It's enjoyable. And then it's just like, wow, this is what we want in movies. So yeah, that was to me like the Helm's Deep. I forgot. It's been a long time, probably like 10 years or so since I've watched all the trilogy movies. Well, last year, the next one, or last one. So yeah, it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, it is. Like you go, especially because as you get to the battle in the third movie at Minas Tirith,
yes,
a lot of that is digital, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so the fact that this is so hands-on, like this battle it's not digital.
Yes,
it is all real.
Yes.
And that is really where you kind of go, I mean, to me, arguably, and this will come up later in, I think, one of my quiz show, but arguably the Helm's Deep battle is the best and most impressive set piece / battle in this entire series, which is saying something.
Yes.
Because it just isn't, because Minas Tirith can't be real.
No.
In terms of building it.
Yeah.
Because it's just like that white city.
Yeah.
So I get that part.
Yes.
But that's why it's almost more impressive on the Helm's Deep standpoint. Yes. And that's why this movie it is so, it feels real because it is real. Because they're literally filming like in person on site.
Yes.
You know, it's so good.
Well, what's the episode in Game of Thrones in the final season where like the third episode or whatever, where they fight at the Northern Castle?
Okay.
Where it's like the hour-long battle sequence like this, where it starts with at night. It's all at night. I forget the name of it. Like,
right. Yeah.
But it's the episode where like, this is incredible, where all the characters come together and it's really visceral and you feel it. And that to me was the most recent approximation of something like this.
3 episodes later, they're back at King's Landing, and it's all digital.
And it does
feel different.
It doesn't quite feel the same, but this had that grounded feeling, like in the beginning sequence when all the like riders ride out and get decimated. I just think about like watching this at Helm's Deep had the same feeling of this feels practical. Mm-hmm. It feels well made, and it was 20 years prior.
Yeah, who was it that was shitting on episode 2?
Oh, the guy from Boston Globe.
Yeah,
whatever.
Exactly. Because it was all digital.
Yes.
Everything's digital.
Yes, you couldn't feel.
There's no feeling to it. None.
What it was.
Yep.
One final thing I'll say.
I'm essentially done. Yeah, go ahead.
When we talk about
wax poetic, but no, it's here you go.
When we talk about world expansion, so I feel like a well-made trilogy is foundation, expansion, and then condensing, where you build the world, you expand it out, and you bring it back to the third one, where it feels like it's a good wrap up. I know that's what their whole thing we'll talk about next year.
Yeah,
we just have to take a bit of time to appreciate Howard Shore, the composer.
Where
we talk about in the first episode or movie last year, where he has hints of things that come in later. Even this had sequences where the story that's a building, we were like, oh my God, that's a theme from the next movie to come.
Yeah. At the end,
yes. But what he adds to Rohan with the violin or whatever it is they have, it's just his music scape in this is incredible.
Yeah.
Just so incredible.
Yeah. To come in and have, because last year we talked about how there are maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different themes. And then on top of that, you come in with Rohan with that and then and he also teases a theme
from
later.
Gondor.
And then you have the sort of the military march of the Elven theme.
Yes.
And it is there are things that I guess I didn't even notice that in the past. It was just like and again, the Oscars aren't a be all end all, but the man wasn't even nominated for this year, and you're just like, really?
Really?
Like, he not only took what was already something I think he won for in the first year, He expanded on it.
Yes.
And it's just like, come on.
And made it better.
It's
yeah.
absurd.
It's ridiculous.
Howard Shore's outstanding.
It's so good in this.
I mean, woe is him. He won 3 Oscars for this entire franchise, so he's doing all right for himself.
He did just fine.
I really don't have much else in terms of like
it's
reaction.
Just experience it.
Yeah. You got to watch it.
Yes.
So as we close out our spotlight segment, we come to the next segment, which is the verdict.
I'm going up there. I'm going to try it. I'm going to let the jury decide.
This is where Tim and I give our final verdicts after watching the film and decide whether or not the movie held up, shocker on this one, over the course of 2 decades. I'll go first.
Okay.
Pretty simple. Every time I watch one of these 3 movies, I'm reminded what is possible in the world of filmmaking.
Yep.
We had it last year, this year, and then we'll have it again next year. Which, by the way, again, they were all filmed at the same time. So this is essentially one film split into 3, but that's, we'll argue about that later. Taking a classic story, making it new without losing its essence, and using all abilities known and at that time unknown, like developing new things, to get to the final product. While this may be the quote unquote weakest installment of the 3, it's still an outstanding achievement that has and will stand the test of time. Everything and everyone at the top of their game, and it shows. It's an easy 5 out of 5 for me, and it holds up 20 years later. All 3 films are 5 out of 5. I'll just spoiler alert next year.
True.
It'll just be 5 out of 5 next year.
Because they're all great.
Yeah, they're all great. So I don't have much else to add on top of that. It is a 5 out of 5 movie for me.
No, I agree with that. The verdict for me is, the weight of a second film in a planned trilogy is that it has to have so many plates spinning, where you have all these characters developing, expanding, and as it comes to this one, where the Fellowship broke. And you have two characters that die, so the residual impact of that. And as they split up into different areas, you not only have just those characters, but you have to add in a lot of new ones.
Yeah.
And it works really, really well.
Yep.
Where you have the world that's expanded beyond just what you're experiencing so far. And knowing that it's going to come back together and they do a great job of this, of teasing what's to come. You have a game-changing performance with not just the actor, but the technology in Gollum. And you think about what it does for building to the 3rd film. I agree. 5 out of 5. It is fantastic, enjoyable. It, almost 4 hours you watch this.
Yeah.
It never drags. It moves along well.
Yeah. It does drag, but not in a negative way. Like, there are just times you're like, I could take a nap right now.
I can see why they cut this.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Just because it could have been cut doesn't mean it's not interesting.
Exactly. So I love this movie. It's just the whole trilogy as a whole. So next year we'll spend lots of time waxing poetic.
Yeah, it'll be a different episode next year.
Yep.
So our next segment then is Drinking Buddies, the sequel.
Let's get weird.
Where we review the beers that we had while re-watching the film and give our expert ratings out of 5 stars. Tim will walk us back through what we discussed earlier, also another one, and then we do have a strange brew, which we forgot to talk about earlier. So, Tim, what do we got?
We started the experience with Modest out of Minneapolis. Their Shook Key Lime Milkshake IPA. It was a 3.75 for me. I would say not very milkshakey.
No.
It was a good key lime flavor for me. More of like a sour IPA.
Yeah. I don't even know if I had.
So I liked it. It was enjoyable. Thoroughly got through it. But it wasn't like, wow, this is a great milkshake IPA. It definitely was more of a sour IPA, but 3.75 for me.
There wasn't a single milkshake about it, really, more than anything.
Really?
There was a limey.
Yeah.
I had a 3.75. I thought there was too much graham cracker / cinnamon, whatever crust that they were trying to get in on that. There's just too much of that.
Yep.
It's fine. I had a 3.75 as well, but you're just kind of like, all right, it's fine.
Yeah,
but
thanks.
If I had to buy a 4-pack, I'd be like, well, I hope I have 4 people.
I have 2 left, and I'll see how I get through them.
It's not bad. It is a well-made beer, but it's not a milkshake IPA.
True.
Again, that's a detriment. Like, had there actually been a real milkshake flavor to it with a little more lime,
Yep.
it'd have been a 4.25.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. And then we had Talking Waters. They're a double dry hopped hazy IPA.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 4 for me. A solid hazy. I liked it. It was enjoyable, and I'd not seek it out, but if it's there, I'll have it.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part about. So we talked off air about. I was recently in DC and New York, right? And like, I would not like if people were to come to town, or like if I'm traveling, right? If this were on tap and Talking Waters is never on tap, like I don't see it anywhere.
True.
So I'm like, it's hard to give it more than a 4 out of 5, which is I had too, because you're like, I'm gonna have to make people spend $15 to $20 on a 4-pack of this in order to buy it.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it's a good, solid hazy IPA. But like my point about DC is, you go to a place and you're like, I want to go to a place that has a bunch of taps locally. Yep. And Talking Waters is never on tap anywhere around here. I don't get it.
It's a good point.
And so I'm like, it bothers me because most of their stuff is about a 4 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could start recommending it more, you'd be like, oh, here we go. Let's do this. So I was like, yeah, it's 4 out of 5 because you can have any hazy. There are a bunch of other hazies out there that are as good as this or whatever that are on tap somewhere. So it gets lost in the shuffle. And it's so frustrating.
Totally agree. Then we had Lupulin's Resin Rapture Imperial Red IPA. 4.25.
Look at us.
For me.
We are 3 for 3 on this one. I know.
I really like this one. It was a nice one that I guess I always think of like a Imperial Red IPA. Like, what's Fulton's? I'm drawing a blank.
Libertine.
The
best red the best red of all time.
Like, just waiting for something to even come close.
Yeah.
This doesn't. But as it is, it's really good for that style. I'm glad they brought it back.
Yeah, I had a 4.25 as well. It's very good. It's very unique style. You don't see a lot of red IPAs out there, which is it's kind of fun that we it's very interesting to me that we had a hazy IPA, a red IPA, a black IPA.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yes.
And you're kind of like, we had a variety of IPAs.
All the ranges.
Yeah, it's just a rainbow.
Middle Earth of
it's absolutely.
IPAs.
It's a all are welcome version of the IPA. But I had 4.25 as well.
Nice. And then we had Warrior Brewing, their Barbarian Imperial Stout barrel aged with coffee, whatever it was. 4.25 for me. I was really impressed with this.
Yeah.
Super subtle for the coffee. And
it was more like coffee on there.
But it's more like a roasted type of flavor.
You're welcome. Yeah.
There you go. I really like this. The challenge I find, though, however, is it's tall boys. So it's like 12%.
Yeah, you got to split it.
Point, 12%. You got to split it. But it was, I like it. I'm definitely going to be sharing it with folks. I liked it a lot. 4.
Yeah, no, we definitely are on the same page today because I had a 4.25 as well. Man, we are, I think 3 or 4 out of 4 when it comes to Warrior.
Yeah.
In terms of what they've been putting out.
Yep.
It's outstanding.
Yeah.
This is great. It's 4.25. I probably could have used a little more coffee.
Yeah.
To get it up to the 4 or 5 or whatever. But no, it's great.
And the barrel aging was really
it was good.
Mild, but like
what was the ABV?
12%.
Yeah. Glad you split it.
Exactly. That's I'm like, we're going to split that. Then we had, because again, a lot of time to get through this.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing it over. The Falling Knife Brewing out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Their Reanimator Black IPA. And man, I got to say, I love that black IPAs are coming back.
Yeah.
They're like,
when they're done well.
Resurging. Exactly. And that was a 4.25 for me. A nice bite to it.
There you go.
I liked it. It was really well done. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a 4 out of 5. So our first difference on this one. But it is, but I am a 4 to 4.25 on this one. And I think if I were to look at Untapped, I bet I actually might have come in at 4.25 yesterday when I had it.
Sure.
And I agree. It is so many times you do have a black IPA and it feels like it's just like a flavorless IPA.
Yeah.
That's just black.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, okay, this is stupid.
Yep.
And it was hard. Had we planned ahead a little more on this one, I would not have put a black IPA after a heavy stout.
Yes.
Right? Like it's just a very different flavor profiles,
Yep.
and
Built
so
up
I think
to it,
that
yep.
hurt a little bit.
Yep.
It is really good though. A good toasty flavor to it. It's, I mean, shocker, Falling Knife put out a good beer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you brought them, like, yep, we're gonna have that. And then we have a strange brew.
Take off, you loser. You take off, you numb.
Have you smelled this yet?
I did.
Okay.
That I smelled, or not
All right.
smelled. I saw it at the liquor store, and I was like, we have to try this, right?
We have to. I'm not arguing.
I'm not excited for it.
Nope.
Starry Eyed Brewing out of Little Falls, Minnesota, on the shelf has a lemon bacon beer. And it was like one of those things I saw, I'm like, yeah, I have no idea what this is about, but I have to try it. So we're going to sip it as our strange brew.
It smells,
it
smells like bacon and Band-Aids.
It definitely smells like, I'll give it that, like a smoked bacon flavor or smell. Your reaction is not good. Oh my God, I haven't even sipped it yet. Okay, compose yourself.
It's bad. I'm saying it tastes like it smells. And so, like, my eyes are watering a little because the aftertaste of this is bacon.
It's like the kombucha.
You can't argue it, you know?
Yeah.
And, like,
all right.
So I can't be mad at it, except I can a little bit. Like, why would you do this?
Why would you make this?
Why would you do this to beer?
It tastes like a lemon blonde with like a bacon smoked flavor.
This is smoke, too. We have a problem with smoke.
Yes.
You and I do not like smoke in beer. Liquid smoke is not. Oh, my God.
Why would you make that? How do I even rate this?
Why would you
like,
do
I
this?
award
to
you
a
no
beer?
points,
Like,
and may God have mercy on your soul.
oh, God.
I shouldn't drink anymore.
I know. I'm worried it's going to affect my palate for the next episode, too.
Right? Yeah. I don't want to drink too much.
God.
I'm definitely going to dump the rest of the 4
It was
pack
a
I
single.
bought.
Right? You bought a 4?
That's all they had.
Oh,
I'll gladly
man.
buy it for the strange brew, but oh yeah.
Ow, I feel bad. If it were at least with top 10 liquors in town, you get a single every now
No.
and again.
You know,
Oh,
it's
man.
a well-made
Yeah, but how are you going to buy a 4-pack of it?
beer for
Are they
what
12 boys or 12 ounces?
it is. What I thought it was going to be.
Oh, my God.
Oh, it's a little 12
a
ounces.
bottle?
Yeah, it's a bottle, 12 ounces.
Who the hell is this? Where are they out of?
Little Falls.
Little Falls.
It's 4.5%, so it's a very
Little
light beer.
Falls? God, who do you think you are?
It's really exactly what I
It's
thought
exactly
it'd
what
be.
it is. Like, I'm not, and that's the hard part.
Yeah.
How can you rate it? I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5 because it's not good.
Yeah.
But I want
It's
to
not-
rate it higher because it's exactly what you claim it to be.
I think I'm giving it 3.5.
Cocky bastard.
Because it's exactly what
my
it purports to be, and I knew I was getting it, and to the
God,
level
it
where we
smells
joked
like
about
bacon. Like, yeah.
where when I bought it, the cashier was like, "Have you had that before?" No. And I said, "Why we get it? Because it's we like to find weird beers to try it." And she goes, "Well, it sure is that."
Yeah, like
And
it's
it is.
weird because I think my problem with it is like a lemon IPA. It definitely, when you drink it, it hits you like lemon, right? Like
Yes.
it is sour.
Yes.
But you don't get the flavor of lemon. It's just the effect on your tongue of lemon,
Yes.
like sour. And then
This is
of
so
all
weird.
the things that happen after I get a lemon flavor in my mouth,
Yeah.
bacon is not up there
No.
on the list of things. Like,
That's not what I would combine it with.
no, like, but again, it tastes like exactly what it is.
I think I've had my fill.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've had a couple drinks. I'm like, my eyes are watering.
What?
God, how do we continue?
I don't even know how to get back to the
All
last
right.
one we
Well,
have.
so,
Quiz show.
our final segment of the episode is Quiz Show,
The exciting quiz program 21.
where in our research for the film, we find some interesting trivia nuggets that we hope will stump the other and possibly intrigue you, our dear listeners. Excuse me. God, I love bacon, but this might have
I know,
ruined it for
it's
me.
really weird.
I know. I have a couple. I actually found it hard to come up with ones on this,
Yes.
like the middle one.
Yes.
Like it was, we had the amazing moment of us having the same trivia question last year.
Yep.
So I do have a couple, but you want to go first?
I like 1.5, but
1.5. All right. I have. What do I have? Well, I guess I have 3. No, I have 2 because one of them is just not. Like,
We'll go through it.
yeah. So,
So the
you wanna go
entire
first?
trilogy took roughly 15 months to film, not counting reshoots. Care to guess how many months it took to film the Helm's Deep battle sequence?
I have that question too. It's 4.
I love to hear that. Yeah.
Actually, that was my third question. Of like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. It's 4. 1 during the day
And 3 at night.
3 at night.
3 months of shooting at night.
Yeah.
Is insane to me.
And it
In the
shows,
rain.
right? I'm
Yes.
just like, yeah, it does show. I love the story of the extras. Did you see the one where like, so all the extras got T-shirts at the end, which is like, thank you, but it said, "I
No.
survived Helm's Deep."
That's great.
And so there are thousands of extras in this, right?
Yeah, totally.
And so there are stories of people in New Zealand meeting each other for the first time because they were wearing "I survived Helm's Deep" T-shirts. Like, oh, you were there, I was there, and then
That's
they
pretty
like
good.
actually would meet each other after filming and
That's
stuff like
good.
that. Yeah, I love that.
I like that.
It is insane. 4 months at
Yes.
night. Oh my god!
I can't believe how much they filmed for that.
I mean, I'd
Yeah.
do it for the money, but yeah,
I'll
I
do
can't
it.
drink
Yeah.
any more of that.
No, I'm done with
That's-
it.
oh my
That's why I
God.
got the taster glasses. Yeah.
Oh man, I'd rather have your spicy beer than that. At least that was a good flavor.
That was true. We'll cut.
All right, I have 2 then.
Okay.
So one is super cheesy. The Uruk-hai are the large soldiers
Yes.
of Saruman, right?
Barbarians in many ways.
Yeah, and they're meant to be very imposing, especially over normal men.
Yep.
The producers sought out any men 6 feet tall or higher, but the needs were so great that they did not have enough extras that tall to fit the bill. So
Okay.
the decision was made to cast 5 foot or taller men. As a joke, what did the team call these shorter Uruk-hai warriors?
Uruk Low. Thumbs up from you.
That is correct.
Uruk High.
Uruk-hai and
Low.
Uruk Low. Yes.
I like that.
There you go.
That's a good one. What? Yeah.
The Uruk-Low warriors. Yep.
Who are you portraying today? Uruk High?
No, I'm not an Uruk-hai. I'm an Uruk-Low.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think you are. So Carl Urban, who we love from The Boys,
Sure.
who plays Eomar in this film.
And Dread.
That's true. Is well known for his work from this series, the recent Star Trek films, and The Boys television series. Following him being introduced in the second film in this series, in 2004, his next 2 films, Urban played characters introduced in the second film of those respective series. One starred Vin Diesel, other starred Matt Damon. Can you name those films?
Demon. Can I name the films?
Yeah, the films that he was introduced similarly in the second film of those series.
Yeah, the Born. It's not. Is it Supremacy or
It
what's the
is.
second one? Yeah.
Born Supremacy.
Okay, yeah, because he's the cop.
Yep.
And
Vin Diesel.
yeah, is it Pitch Black or is it?
That was the first one.
Yeah, but I can't remember. Like, I don't know.
Chronicles of Riddick.
That's what it is.
There
Yeah, I
we
can't
go.
remember
Yeah, you got Big Black,
the
yeah.
second one
Yeah,
of that
yeah.
series. I
There
can't
you
remember.
go.
Thankfully,
Yep.
I didn't watch that.
I've never seen
God
that.
bless Carl Urban, man. He went through
Oh,
his. He went through
right?
the ringer for about 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah. But he's so good in like
Oh my
Red.
gosh. Yes.
Like he's so good in that.
Yes.
And then he's amazing in The Boys.
All The Boys.
I'll count
So
those
good.
2.
Yes. That's good. You got
Are
it.
you all done?
I am done.
Cool. So The Two Towers is the 3rd ever sequel to be nominated for the Best Picture Academy Award.
Okay.
And the first to be nominated when the original did not win Best Picture. Just as a
Sure.
odd little, So
Sure.
anyway, it's the 3rd ever sequel
Okay.
to be nominated for Best Picture. Can you name the other 2 sequels prior to this to be nominated for Best Picture? I can give you the years if you would like.
Well, Godfather Part 2.
Correct. 1974, Godfather Part 2. Both movies obviously won.
One. Yes. Man.
The other one, I would be shocked if you knew this.
What's the year?
1945.
No, I have no
Yeah,
idea.
you're out.
Yes.
Yeah, so the original was Going My Way,
Okay.
which won Best Picture.
Okay.
And that was with Gene Kelly and his father O'Malley. And,
Okay.
And a year later, they did The Bells of St. Mary,
Huh.
which is a sequel but he's the only repeat of anything in that. So it is like it's a sequel because the main character is that guy, you know. So yeah, The Bells of St. Mary was nominated for
spiritual
best.
sequel.
That was it was a sequel.
Yeah.
That was the first ever sequel in 1945.
Jeez.
So it's not like a 2 on the end of it, which is a little confusing.
Sure.
But neither is Two Towers, right?
Wow. That's crazy.
That will bring us to the end of the episode. Stay tuned for our upcoming Christmas episode on Catch Me If You Can. And coming soon we will be... What? And coming soon will be our Oscar episode.
That's right.
Where we are covering the Best Picture winner, Chicago, and our end of the year awards special. Lots coming up for you. We want to say thank you for taking the time to listen and for clicking that like or subscribe button on your devices. Find us on Twitter at years_beers and on Facebook or head to 20years4beers.com. This has been 20 Years 4 Beers. My name is Steve.
I'm Tim.
And thanks for listening.
Thank you. Samsonite. That was way off.
Why would you do this?
Why would you make this?
Why would you do this to beer?
I'm not excited for it.
Nope. I'm like, my eyes are watering. Have you smelled this yet?